Everybody. So we're continuing our discussion of Schar Shabbos, the prohibition of a Yid making money from mutter work on Shabbos. And we're going to see this extends even to money made passively through assets making money. And the reason why Chazal answer this is a gzeira because of mekach umemkar, because it looks like commerce. We're not allowed to engage in commerce on Shabbos. You can't engage in commerce on Shabbos. Now, I just want to point out something. That doesn't mean that if you take something from someone on Shabbos, you're not mechuyev to pay them for it after Shabbos, if it's clear that it's something that's normally paid for. But we have a prohibition of making money on Shabbos, and that's because of Gzeir Mekach HaMemkar. Of course, business is usher. The Gemara in Beitza, they asked for business because of Ksiva Pashtus. So we discussed an interesting scenario. If a woman or a man rebels against their spouse, there are penalties. And when we say the word moredes, parenthetically, we mean they refuse to be together with their spouse. So with a woman, the way it works is she loses a certain amount of money from her ksuba. With a husband, if he rebels, he refuses to be with his wife, the way it works is a certain amount of money is added to the ksuba. And it is for per diem, for every day that the recalcitrant behavior is continuing. Now, we said that she's not allowed to take the per diem money for Shabbos because then it looks like she's making money on Shabbos, like Shabbos is causing her to make money. Tosfos already explains that the scenario that we're dealing with is where there's no havlah. That means even if he were to prepay her for the following week, for the next week, he's being forced to prepay her, but he's prepaying her for the following week for refusing to be with his wife. So then, if he would come to his senses, let's say on Tuesday, then we would give him back the money on a per diem basis. So let's say if the week is Sunday to Shabbos, we wouldn't give him back the Monday for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but we would give him back the Monday for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. This is the case where he forked over all the money for the whole week on Sunday. So what does that show? That shows that there's not havlah, that every day is individual, in which case there's a problem of Schar Shabbos. Now over here on page 49, I'm sorry, what?
So, but ksuba is not a cash payment, right? It's like a lien on the husband's assets.
Well, when there's a divorce, there's a cash payment.
Right.
Of course.
But this is before divorce.
Right, but this means that we are tacking on a certain amount of money.
Right.
That he's
not handing over cash.
Well, but she'll get it eventually, right?
Right.
I mean, ksuba is paid out to the wife upon the divorce or death of the husband.
Right.
All right. Let's see how this is codified in Halach on the Mishnah Berurah. It's very interesting on page 50. Let's first read the Mechaber on page 50, Siman Shin Vav Sif Daled in the Mechaber. Hasocher sapoel lishmor zram. You hire a worker. We're talking here about a Jewish worker, not a Goyish worker, to guard your vegetables. O davar acher. You hire a guy to stand outside your shul on Shabbos. A Jew. Eino nosein lo schar Shabbos. You cannot pay him for the work he does on Shabbos. Lefichach en achrei Shabbos love. For that reason, if the item gets stolen on Shabbos, the guard is not responsible to pay for Gneiv Aveda because he's not a Shomer Sachar. He's not watching something for money. He's watching it for free. Hayas Schir Shabbos, let's say the guard is hired on a weekly, monthly, yearly, or 7-yearly basis, then you're allowed to pay. Why? Because the Schar Shabbos is Bahavla. You're allowed to get paid for work on Shabbos if it's swallowed up by the work before and after Shabbos. Now, If you look in the Mishnah Berurah points out, maybe this is obvious to you, that the prohibition on Schar Shabbos is not only on the employer not giving it, the employee can't take it even if it's offered to him. All right. Now we have here the very nice Mishnah Berurah that discusses the nature of Havla. So let's discuss a couple of things. He says like this, L'shalem lo kol yom, I agree to pay you every day. He says like this, look at 4 lines down from where the Yud Tes is. Dechein hadin, b'maskir cheder l'chaveru l'chodesh v'hisnem asocher she'yisalem lo lefi cheshbon hayomim, gam ken also likach lo schar Shabbos. Not only does this apply in an employee-employee situation, it also applies in a landlord-tenant situation. Let's say I rent my house to you on a per diem basis. We call that an Airbnb. In which case, you're not allowed to take money for Shabbos. V'huadin, furthermore, if you lend money to a guy with interest on a per diem basis, and you're going to get paid for the amount of days that the money was in the guy's possession, namely, it's going to accrue interest for every day, in which case you can't take the interest for Shabbos because, once again, Shabbos is producing money for you. Schar Shabbos. Shabbos is producing money. So what do you have to do to resolve it? Tzrichem lizoyer shelo hastos balov b'stam shesham lo fi cheshbon hayomim. You can't tell the borrower that he's going to pay you based on the precise calculation of the days. And if you do that, then you need to deduct from the money you take from the borrower, the non-Jewish borrower, the interest for the Shabbos. So what should you do? You have to make a tanai. If you, Mr. Guy, pay me in the middle of the week, namely you pay me on a Tuesday, then you're going to still have to pay the interest for the whole week. In which case, what I'm basically saying is that the interest of the week as a unit, in which case, Chai Shabbos is Bavla. Or you could do the opposite. You could say, if you pay me in the middle of the week, you're not going to pay me the interest for the previous days of that week. The point being, the interest has to be collected on a per week basis, not on a per diem basis, and it has to be clear that that's how it is when this loan structure ends, and then it's going to be mutter, because Chai Shabbos is Bahavla. Okay. Let's say I say, I'm hiring you for a month. Okay? And you'll pay a certain amount of money for the month. Now, there's a big machlokes here in Sif Katan Kaf in the Mishnah Berurah, page 51, which really argues on what we've kind of been saying until now, and he wants to posit that if I hire you for a month, and it's a month's work of watching vegetables, even if you go back on the employment in the middle of the month, I'll pay you on a per diem basis. Since mistama, you're not going to go back on it, it's still called Schar Shabbos Bavla. This is a big discussion. Okay. And then he goes into what we do today. He say, Lamaisa, we hire a Jew on Friday to watch a wagon from being stolen. I guess the way it worked is, if you were a merchant, you got a delivery on Friday afternoon, so the merchandise is outside, someone's going to steal it. So you had to hire a Yid to watch it that it won't be stolen. Let's say you're living with his only Yid in. So the problem is, how could you do it? Right? He's going to accept Schar Shabbos. He says like this, Sheyisnem hashomer sheyishmor gam b'yomer of Shabbos. You make a condition with the guard that he's watching even on Friday and Motzei Shabbos, and that's called Schar Shabbos B'Havla, and now you're getting payment for Shabbos B'Havla. So he's mechadesh that even though if you read the Gemara, Havla means Shabbos in a whole week, which would imply that the payment for Shabbos is inconsequential vis-a-vis the rest of the week, the Mishnah Berurah says that's not true. Brings from the Chai Adam. It's not true. As long as there's some work done on non-Shabbos time in which Shabbos is subsumed, then it's already called havla. Then it's already called swallowed up, in which case you're not getting paid right away for Shabbos, in which case the Gzeira doesn't apply, and therefore there's no problem of Schar Shabbos. And the truth is, let's jump right now to page 59. This is what Rav Moshe writes when he's addressing his son regarding every one of us who deposits money in a bank. We said you're not allowed to take interest from a guy for Shabbos because that is Char Shabbos. You're getting paid for the time of Shabbos. But the problem is that when you give money to a bank, to a savings account, you get interest. When you get money, right, you get interest. Now, one second here. What's interesting is a CD is a little different because a CD, even though it's calculated on a per day basis, it's for a specific amount of time. In fact, you're not allowed to take out the money in the middle and you're going to get a penalty. The question more is for a savings account where it's mamish on a per day basis or any other type of loan agreement where you're getting paid mamish on a per day basis. And a savings account is 100% per day because if you take it out, you can take it out whenever you want and they're only going to calculate the interest based on until when you close the account. So he says like this, L'maisa it's havla. Why is it havla? Because the days that are calculated in the secular calendar are from midnight to midnight. Well, since Baruch Hashem in our longitude and latitude from midnight to midnight is always going to include weekday, Shabbos never ends here past midnight. So by definition, there's always havla. So he says, by 2-day yontif, there's no problem. Why? Let's think this through calmly. Why are you going to tell me that there's a problem on a 2-day yontif? What would the problem be?
If first day yontif is yontif, then the second day yontif's interest doesn't count because it's not covered.
Oh! So by a 2-day yontif, there's no problem. As if Dovi Glatzer realized right away. Since when the whole reason they were misaking 2-day yontif was because of a suffix, so he says, Mistama, you could say that we don't need to aser schar Shabbos on a 2-day yontif because you could count the havla if you're counting from midnight to midnight because they'll always be part of the second day yontif or part of the first day yontif, however you look at it. Well, always part of the second day yontif, right?
An Airbnb that make sure that the money or it's not all Shabbos.
Correct. The problem with, I'm sorry, sir?
Would that be the same for regular workers that you hire if they
Sure.
choose to work on
Yes. Correct. If you somehow hire a worker, I don't know exactly how it would be, but if you hired a worker to work 48 hours, no, from midnight on Erev Yontif to midnight on Yontif, midnight on first day to midnight on second day, midnight on second day to Motzei Yontif, you don't have a problem. Exactly. Parenthetically, hi. So he says like this. He says the only case where there'd be a problem of Schar Shabbos in a bank with midnight to midnight is in what scenario? When you have a 3-day yontif. When you have a 3-day yontif, now you're going to have a problem. Because if you have that's right, or the opposite. Or let's say you do Shabbos to Sunday to Monday, right, which could happen on Shavuos, right? Or Pesach, we just had it. Shabbos, Sunday, Monday. So no matter how you slice the cat, Sunday is not going to have any havla. You can't burn the candle above then. Sunday will not have havla. So what should you do? So he tainas, or Moshe tainas, that you should take the per diem for 3-day yontifs and give it to tzedakah. However, he makes an important point whenever you do this. In this case, you cannot get any type of recognition from the institution for the tzedakah you give. Now, the truth is, for most people, it's a de minimis amount of money, so you can just put $1.50 in the pushka. However, if it would be a significant amount of money, whenever we have you give money to tzedakah because of a problem, if you take recognition from the Mossad for what you did, it could be an aliyah, it could be a sponsorship thing, it could be something on the wall, then on the contrary, that you are getting some benefit from the money, and then it's not achieving its purpose of not getting benefit from the money you got for Schar Shabbos. What?
You get tax deduction.
No, it would be the same problem.
You couldn't take tax deduction.
Or you couldn't take tax deduction. You're getting a benefit when you get a tax deduction, right? If I'm not mistaken, correct?
Sure.
Do you see it as a benefit or just not a penalty?
No. Oh, the tax deduction?
The tax, I mean, you're owing less taxes,
You pay less, that's a benefit.
or they're just punishing you less by charging.
Either way, you're paying.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. That's a good point. And he says, furthermore, it can't be if you give it to a ani, it has to be done in a way where the person is not going to be makir tov to you at any level. Because otherwise, it's going to be a problem of hana from Schar Shabbos. Okay, let's stop here. This is fascinating, and we'll finish up Schar Shabbos and Mir Tashem on